Poor single mom awakes on CEO's shoulder. What happens at 3 a.m. will devastate you. It was a night like no other. The clock struck 3, its eerie chime cutting through the silence of the luxurious hotel room. And there she was, Megan, a single mom with dreams too big for her modest life, her head resting on the broad shoulder of the world's most powerful CEO. His name sent shivers down her spine, Hunter Blake, the man whose empire stretched from Wall Street to Silicon Valley. How had she ended up here, tangled in a blanket, confusion swirling in her mind like a dark storm cloud? Megan slowly peeled her eyes open. The soft glow of the bedside lamp flickered like a dying firefly. A pulse of fear raced through her body, tightening her chest. Memories flooded back, the gala, the laughter, the glass of bubbly that danced its way into her hands. Did she really fall asleep in a place where dreams turned to nightmares? It was Hollywood gone wrong. The hum of the city outside felt like an angry whisper daring her to remember. Tension hung in the air. She shifted, heart pounding like a bass drum. Hunter's presence was electric, leaving her paralyzed. His tailored suit glimmered under the low light, every crease sharp, every detail intentional, as if he were made of steel and ambition. Suddenly, she recalled the fleeting moment before they sank into this murky sleep. They had been sharing secrets, exchanging glances thick with meaning. Was it just the wine, or was there something more? The truth felt as slippery as the tears she fought to hold back. Just then, a soft rustle broke the silence. Hunter stirred, his eyes fluttering open. For a heartbeat, everything felt suspended, as if the world outside had stopped turning, holding its breath. The tension ticked like a countdown in her head. What would he say? Would he remember her? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Megan's breath caught in her throat. She could hear her heart thumping, a thunderous rhythm drowning out all other sounds. Hunter's gaze locked with hers, and in that moment, she felt raw vulnerability. Was he angry? Interested? Or just as perplexed as she was? The silence dragged on, thick with unsaid questions, each second burning with uncertainty and unspoken promises. Suddenly, the room door creaked open, and a shiver raced down Megan's spine. A shadow loomed, and she instinctively recoiled. Who was stepping into their tangled web of confusion? Was it a friend, an enemy, or something darker? The atmosphere shifted, heavy with foreboding, and just like that, the fragile moment of connection shattered. A cold chill wrapped around them, settling in the pit of her stomach. The truth was out there, hidden in the shadows, and she was about to uncover it. What awaited her in this tangled world of power and desire? The answer lingered just out of reach, waiting to be discovered. Megan's heart raced as the figure stepped into the dim light. The door swung fully open, revealing a tall man dressed in a sharp, dark suit. His features were obscured by shadows, but the glint of recognition in his eyes sliced through the fog of confusion. It was Charlie, Hunter's business partner, with a reputation as fierce as his stare. Well, what do we have here? Charlie's voice dripped with sarcasm, his eyebrows dancing in a way that made alarm bells ring in Megan's mind. The very air around her thickened, sharp enough to cut. She swallowed hard, trying to compose herself as she quickly pushed herself upright, the blanket tumbling to the floor. Hunter's expression shifted from surprise to guarded. Charlie, this isn't what? Just a casual midnight rendezvous? Charlie interrupted, a sly smile creeping across his lips. He took a step forward, and the atmosphere bristled with tension like a coiled spring ready to snap. I knew you were a night owl, Hunter, but I didn't think you'd take it this far. Megan felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. This entire situation was spiraling out of control. She wanted to shout, to defend herself, but no words came. Instead, she felt exposed, vulnerable in front of these two powerful men. Her mind darted back to her son, asleep in their apartment, completely oblivious to the chaos unfolding in this gilded cage. "Charlie, back off." Hunter's voice took on a steely edge, but Megan could hear the underlying tension, like a storm brewing on the horizon. His gaze shifted to her, softening for a fraction of a second. "It's not what you think, Megan," but the doubt clawed at her. What did she think? That she could somehow slip into his world without consequences? She felt like a moth fluttering dangerously close to the flame. And if it was? Charlie replied, dismissing Hunter's plea. "You think this doesn't matter? This isn't some fairy tale you can just sleep your way through. You're in my world now, sweetheart." The air crackled between them, and Megan's stomach twisted. For every moment of connection she thought they shared, here came the sobering reality: she was just another distraction in a world where fortunes were made and broken in the blink of an eye. "What do you want?" Megan managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel her hands trembling, the weight of circumstance closing in around her. "Just a little chat," Charlie said, his eyes narrowing. "Hunter and I have some plans that might not sit well with a single mom, if you catch my drift." With those words, her heart dropped. She was tangled deeper in this web of power and intrigue than she'd ever wanted to be. Secrets she wasn't privy to swirled in her mind like smoke, and panic bubbled beneath the surface. Would their plans threaten her life? Her son's safety? "Enough, Charlie!" Hunter's voice thundered, echoing through the room, shaking the walls of Megan's courage. "Get out! Now!" "Fine," Charlie drawled, taking a step back, but not before throwing a last glance at Megan that felt almost predatory. "But just remember, the darker the truth, the harder it is to escape." As the door clicked shut behind him, silence fell like a heavy curtain. Megan turned to Hunter, raw fear reflected in her eyes. "What does he mean? What's going on?" Hunter ran a hand through his hair, his face a mask of frustration and turmoil. "I'll explain everything, but right now, we need to figure out how to keep you safe." The abrupt shift from light-hearted whimsy to the grim reality of their lives crashed over her like a tidal wave. What kind of danger were they facing? The stakes were rising, and Megan needed answers. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the truth that loomed just beyond the horizon. What secrets did Hunter Blake hold? And could she really trust him? With her heartbeat echoing in her ears, Megan felt dread creeping back in, knotting her stomach. The battle for her life and her son's had just begun. Megan stared into Hunter's eyes, searching for reassurance, any glimmer of the man she had been getting to know amidst this storm of chaos. But all she saw was urgency, a wild desperation shrouded in a protective mask. "Safe from what?" she whispered, her breath hitching. "What's really going on, Hunter?" He shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the door as if Charlie might waltz back in, ready to unleash more of whatever poison was brewing in their world. "It's complicated. It involves money and people who don't take kindly to threats against their interests." Megan's heart raced anew. She had lived a life carved from simple stones, working late shifts, juggling school events, avoiding eviction. Now, she found herself ensnared in something dangerous and foreign. "Is it dangerous for me? For Jackson?" "Yes." Hunter snapped, then softened. "I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'll protect you. But you need to trust me." Trust? The word felt hollow. How could she trust him when the very foundations of her reality were crumbling around her? She was caught between a rock and a hard place, her instincts screaming at her to run while Hunter urged her to stay. "Tell me what I need to know," she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. There was a flicker of surprise in Hunter's expression, as if he were not accustomed to being challenged. "Charlie and I are involved in more than just business. There are competitors, enemies. Charlie has stepped over lines." His voice trembled with undercurrents of fury, "and he is dragging us all into his mess." "Cowardice won't help us," Megan pressed, her eyes narrowing. "What does he mean by plans that might not sit well with me?" Hunter's expression deepened, frustration battling with an urgency laced with worry. "He thinks he can use you against me. And I won't let that happen." The air turned electric, her heart pounding like a drum. Use me how? I'm just a waitress trying to get by. What could I possibly have that? More than you know, Hunter interrupted sharply. The moment you got involved with me, you became a target. Megan felt the room tighten around her, suffocating almost. Her thoughts raced back to moments spent sharing laughter, the intimacy they both brushed against. It felt surreal that all of that could lead to this, a potential danger lurking just beyond her awareness. Just then, a sharp rapping echoed from the door. They both froze, blood running cold. Hunter's eyes darted toward it, and Megan could see the tension radiating from him like heat rippling off asphalt. Who is it? She hissed, her voice trembling. Stay here, Hunter replied curtly, moving with purpose toward the entrance. His back was to her, and Megan felt more vulnerable than ever, the weight of their situation threatening to crush her. I want to know, she called after him, but the click of the door silenced her, heart pounding. Megan strained to hear anything, the seconds stretching into a taut wire of nerves. She glanced around the room, half expecting shadowy figures to leap out from every crevice. But it was the muffled voices that kept her anchored, their fragments weaving a tapestry of tension. Charlie said you were getting too close. I can't let you, hushed voices twisted in anger, Hunter's tone rising just above a whisper. Megan grit her teeth, fighting an all-consuming fear that threatened to swallow her. What was she stepping into? Her son's name echoed in her mind like a lifeline. Suddenly, the door burst open, and Hunter staggered back, face pale as a sheet. Go! Out the back! Panic surged. What? Why? Now, Megan. Trust me. Her legs moved before her brain could process what was happening. She dashed to the rear exit, adrenaline pumping through her veins like fire. But just as she reached for the doorknob, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed behind her. Megan's heart raced. They were coming. She yanked the door open, and it felt as though the walls were closing in around her. But as she stepped outside, the chill of uncertainty gripped her. Would the dark give rise to hope, or would it consume her whole? A flash of movement caught her eye, and she turned just in time to see Hunter being shoved back into the room, something glinting ominously in the dim light. In that instant, she knew one thing for sure: this was only the beginning. What would be revealed when the dust settled? Would Megan find the strength to fight back, or would she be swallowed by the darkness threatening to engulf them both? Megan burst through the door, the cool night air biting at her skin, chasing away the heat of fear round the edges of her mind. She stumbled onto a narrow alley, dimly lit by flickering streetlights that cast a ghostly glow. As the door slammed shut behind her, the echo reverberated in her ears like a haunting bell. Hunter! She whispered, heart hammering in her chest. Where was he? Had he followed? Did he escape, or was he still facing whatever or whoever was after them? The distant sound of footsteps echoed, sharp and insistent. She pressed her back against the damp brick wall, trying to catch her breath. Shadows danced at the alley's mouth, melding with the night, and she forced herself to focus. Every second felt fragile, like glass on the verge of shattering. Think, Megan. Think. She muttered under her breath. She had to get out of this nightmare, out of Charlie's reach. Her son. Jackson. Panic was a high tide swelling inside her, threatening to pull her under. Just then, she spotted a flicker of light ahead, a street lamp casting a pool of yellow warmth. It felt like a beacon, a promise of safety, but the noises behind her cut through her resolve. She pressed farther into the shadows, willing herself to stay hidden. Images of Hunter's intense gaze flashed in her mind, the way the tension had rippled between them moments ago. Trusting him felt like stepping off an edge, and for now, she had no other choice but to survive. But how could she possibly face what awaited her? Did she really have any role in this game they were all caught up in? The scraping sound of boots on concrete pulled her from her thoughts. They were getting closer. Panic surged again, and she darted towards the light, desperate for clarity, safety. Something. As she reached the street, she made out a figure silhouetted against the glow of a nearby diner. Her breath caught. It was Hunter. He moved with urgency, scanning the streets. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived, replaced by dread as he spotted her. Megan! His voice rang out, pulling her back from the shadows. Every step forward felt like a risk. But before he could reach her, the heavy footsteps echoed louder. A group emerged from the shadows behind Hunter, men in dark clothing, their faces obscured. They moved with a predator-esque grace, the kind that spoke of violence lurking underneath their calm facade. "Get down!" Hunter shouted, but it was too late. The thundering crowd was closing in. Megan dropped, heart racing as she ducked into the shadows. She couldn't breathe, a tightness gripped her chest, augmented by the sound of her pulse pounding in her ears. She watched as Hunter braced himself, eyeing the men with a fierce intensity. A primal instinct surged in her. She had to protect him, protect Jackson, protect whatever shred of normalcy remained. When the group lunged toward him, it was like slow motion. Hunter moved to defend himself, fists raised, but the numbers were against him. "Run!" he shouted again, voice desperate. "Get to the car. You have to go." Her instincts screamed at her to obey, but she was paralyzed by the sight of the chaos unfurling before her. Just then, one of the assailants seized Hunter by the collar, slamming him against the wall. The sound echoed, reverberating through the alley and deep into her bones. Megan's heart dropped. "What do you think you're doing, Hunter? Did you really think you could hide what you know?" The man's voice dripped with menace. With that, something inside Megan snapped. A surge of courage sparked to life as she lunged forward, clutching a nearby rock, a primal weapon against the tide of her fears. "Let him go!" she yelled, voice piercing through the chaos. The man turned, surprise flickering across his features, just as Hunter's eyes widened in disbelief. "Megan, no!" Hunter shouted, urgency threading through his tone. But it was too late. The moment hung heavy, teetering on the edge of a violent precipice. In that charged instant, everything shifted. Would she stand her ground against the storm closing in, or would she endanger not just herself, but the man she had begun to trust? As the tension coiled like a spring, Megan realized one truth: she had crossed a line. In this darkened world, there were no going backs. What would happen next? Would courage prove to be her salvation, or would the choices she made lead to an even darker fate? Time seemed to suspend in the alley as Megan brandished her makeshift weapon. Her heart pounded like a war drum. The man's eyes narrowed, disbelief morphing into irritation. "What did you say?" he sneered, tightening his grip on Hunter's collar. Hunter's muscles tensed, and a flicker of warning surged between them, but Megan didn't waver. The moment was full of raw energy, both terrifying and electrifying. "Let him go!" Her voice rang again, more defiant this time, as her fear transformed into a weapon of its own. The man laughed, a cold, mocking sound that sliced through the tension. "And what are you going to do with that little rock? This isn't a game, sweetheart." Hunter struggled against the grip, his gaze darting between Megan and the group approaching them. His face was a mix of admiration and alarm, a silent plea to not make things worse. A second guy snickered as he stepped closer, his posture relaxed, like they were just out for a stroll rather than hunting down prey. "You should listen to him, darling. These streets aren't safe for someone like you." Megan felt the heat rise in her cheeks, fury igniting within her. She was tired of being treated like a victim. "You don't get to decide what I'm safe from," she spat, surprising even herself. As if sensing the shift, the men exchanged glances. It was slight, but it made her pulse quicken. Maybe, just maybe, they were underestimating her. In that split second, she felt a swell of courage, one she thought had been snuffed out long ago. Without another thought, she launched the rock at the man holding Hunter. It hit him hard in the shoulder, and he stumbled back, shot quickly turning to rage. "Bitch!" he roared, eyes blazing. Hunter seized the moment, shoving the man away with all his strength. The force of the movement broke the tension, and in a flash, chaos erupted. Hunter was on his feet, fighting against the two men who lunged at him while the others turned their attention to Megan. "Run!" Hunter shouted, taking on two men at once. The sounds of fists connecting cracked through the night like thunder. Megan wouldn't move. Not now. She could see Hunter battling fiercely, but she was trapped in her own turmoil. She had never been this reckless before, but something deep within was awakened. The chaos around them felt visceral, like an invitation to step into the fray, to act. Then she saw one of the assailants shift toward her, a sinister grin plastered on his face.
You think you're a hero now? You don't know who you're messing with.
A chill enveloped her. She felt desperately exposed, and as she backed away, the fear of what they might do surged through her veins. Driven by instinct, she grabbed another rock from the ground, this time a sharp, jagged piece.
Get away from me! She yelled, voice trembling but determined.
He took a step forward, and she brandished her weapon clumsily, eyes wide with panic. Just then, Hunter landed a hard blow that sent one of the men sprawling.
Megan!
Move! He dodged another fist aimed at him, but he couldn't fight them all. With her heart in her throat, she made her choice. Taking a deep breath, she sprinted toward Hunter, feeling time slip through her fingers like sand. She had to reach him, had to be his ally in this fight, but the moment she approached, a loud crack echoed from the darker corner of the alley, freezing her in her tracks.
What was that?
She gasped, fear washing over her anew. Hunter's expression shifted, eyes widening in horror as another group appeared. Different men, these were even more menacing, and the first thing she noticed was the glinting of firearms at their sides.
Megan, we need to go.
Hunter shouted, urgency carving lines into his face. The streets that had seemed so comforting moments ago now felt like they were closing in on her.
She was outnumbered and outmatched.
As the new men advanced with calculated steps, Megan felt the weight of her choices crashing down on her.
Everything was spiraling, and the stakes had just shot through the roof. Stay close.
Hunter grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the alley exit, but she hesitated, suddenly wary of what lay beyond.
Would they make it? Would they even have a chance against the encroaching danger?
The nights she thought she'd escaped were only beginning to turn into nightmares.
What happened next would change everything.
Their lives intertwined in a web of uncertainty, and now the truth was lurking just behind them in every shadow. As they stepped out into the flickering light, a realization struck her: there was no running from who they were. The question loomed large. Would they face their fears together, or would the darkness consume them both? The air shifted, thick with tension as Megan and Hunter edged closer to the alley's mouth. In that moment, clarity sparked within Megan's chaotic thoughts. Running now felt like pressing the trigger on a loaded gun. Each step was fraught with danger, anxiety twisting in her gut.
Hunter kept glancing over his shoulder, every muscle coiled tight for flight. We can't let them corner us. Keep moving.
His voice, though forceful, was steeped in desperation.
As they emerged into the flickering streetlight, shadows from the newcomers stretched ominously across the cracked pavement.
Their demeanor screamed authority: bulging muscles, leather jackets, and the subtle menace of firearms holstered low. One by one, the men fanned out, their eyes gleaming with challenge.
Going somewhere?
The leader, a hulking figure with a jagged scar crossing his cheek, stepped forward, sending icy fear down Megan's spine.
Hunter stepped in front of her instinctively. Just let us go. We don't want any trouble. Trouble?
The man laughed, the sound low and threatening.
You two are the trouble.
Megan's heart raced, panic clawed at her mind. She squeezed Hunter's arm, feeling the steady pulse of his heartbeat through the panic. He turned to her, lips pressed into a hard line. We fight together, remember? In that moment, she understood. Whatever it took, they were not backing down. Look, we don't want this, Hunter said, trying to stay calm.
It's just a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? One of the flanking men sneered, his eyes flickering with amusement. You think this is some kind of game?
All right, the leader interrupted, raising a hand.
Let us make this simple. You give us what we want, and we'll forget this little scene. What do you want? Megan managed to ask, fighting to keep her voice steady.
The man stepped closer, a cruel smile spreading across his face.
Information. You're going to tell us everything you know about the shipment coming through tomorrow night. Megan's mind raced. What shipment?
She looked to Hunter, whose eyes darkened with a mix of anger and fear.
We don't know anything,
he shouted as he pushed her behind him, glaring at the approaching men.
You're barking up the wrong tree.
That's a shame, the leader replied, tone dripping with mock sympathy.
I'm afraid you're about to find out how persuasive we can be.
With a sudden move, he lunged toward Hunter, fists swinging.
Hunter dodged, the energy crackling between them palpable.
Megan watched, horrified, as Hunter engaged one of the men while the leader circled quickly, eyes hungry for an opening. Megan's heart raced, the night air felt suffocating. She couldn't stand by and watch. She grabbed the jagged rock she had held earlier. It wasn't much, but it was something. In a surge of adrenaline, she aimed for the leader, the very embodiment of fear.
"Stay away from him!" she shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. The rock flew, catching the man square in the jaw.
Surprise washed over his face before he stumbled back, cursing.
"Nice throw!"
Hunter called, fire igniting in his eyes as he fought. But the moment of victory was fleeting. The men surged forward, now furious. Megan felt the ground shift beneath her, her breath quickening. Just then, she locked eyes with another man on the fringes, a lookout perhaps, who held a glimmering device in his hand. Was it a phone? Or something far worse? What does he have? She croaked in horror, but the fight was already spiraling.
"Megan! We need to go. Now!"
Hunter's voice pierced through her shock. But the reminder of their only escape sent cold dread through her veins.
Would they be chased down like prey? Would their lives unravel here in this very moment, in that fray? As fists flew and screams erupted, a single thought echoed in Megan's mind: they needed a plan, and fast. But as dark hands reached for them, she realized that the darkness had only just begun. What would happen next could either shatter them or forge an unbreakable bond. With danger pressing in from all sides, she leaned closer to Hunter, ready to fight through the oncoming storm. But just then, a shrill scream echoed from the depths of the alley, cutting through the chaos, freezing them in place. "Who's there?" Megan gasped, dread curling in her stomach. Was it another threat, or the chance to discover a hidden ally? What awaited them in the shadows of the unknown, just beyond their grasp? The scream rang out again, piercing the thick air like a knife. It sent chills down Megan's spine, making her heart pound erratically in her chest. "Stay close!" Hunter snapped, grabbing her wrist as he pulled her toward the shadows. The alley loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, the flickering lights casting airy shapes that danced on brick walls. A sudden scuffle erupted behind them. The leader's voice cut through the din, furious and demanding. "Get them!" he bellowed, his men scattering to block any available escape routes. Panic surged in Megan as she felt their options dwindling. Then, without thinking, she pulled away from Hunter. "We can't let them catch us here." She sprinted toward the sound of the scream, closer to the alley's mouth. Each step echoed in her mind 1,000 voices urging her to turn back, but curiosity and instinct pushed her forward. "Megan!" Hunter's voice reverberated, filled with desperation. "What are you doing?" But she didn't stop. A guttural voice echoed from the shadows, low and trembling. It sounded agonized. "Help! Please, someone help me!" Megan rounded the corner, her breath hitching. There, half hidden in a pile of garbage, was a girl no older than 12, with tangled hair sticking to tears streaking her soot-covered cheeks. Without thinking, Megan dropped to her knees. "Hey! I'm here!" she said urgently, trying to soothe the terrified child. "We're going to get you out of here." "What happened?" But the girl recoiled, shaking her head violently. "They're coming! They'll find me!" she cried, darting wild eyes toward the shadows behind Megan. The weight of the world crashed down on Megan. This child was in danger, and the only thing standing between her and those men were Hunter and herself. "They want me back, they'll kill me!" the girl sobbed, pulling herself deeper into the refuse. "Who are they?" Megan pressed, forcing herself to stay calm, even as adrenaline surged through her body. With a frantic glance to the entrance of the alley, it dawned on her, the men weren't just part of the criminal underworld, they were hunting this little girl. Something inside of her snapped to attention, fueling her instinct to protect. "Megan! We can't stay!" Hunter shouted again, and this time she felt the urgency in his tone. But before she could respond, the gang leader appeared at the mouth of the alley, eyes gleaming with fury. His men flanked him, blocking any chance of escape. "Look what we found!" He laughed, leaning against the painted wall,
his casual posture betraying the menace built into every hard line of his body.
A little lost lamb. Megan's pulse ricocheted in her ears. Get away from her,
she shouted, throwing herself in front of the girl protectively.
Or what? The leader taunted.
He stepped forward, hand resting ominously on the weapon at his side.
Stop.
The urgent voice rang out again, and Megan turned to see Hunter, fists up, eyes blazing.
If you want her, you'll have to go through us. Time seemed to hang, winding tighter as Megan mentally raced through the possibilities.
They were outnumbered, and the threat of violence hung in the air thin as a knife's edge.
This confrontation could go south in seconds.
But then the girl broke through the tension, her small voice sharp and clear in the chaotic scene.
I know where the shipment is. I can tell you where they're going to be.
All eyes shifted to her.
What?
Megan and Hunter exclaimed in unison, shock painting their expressions. The leader smirked, eyes glittering with intrigue. Well now, that changes everything. Megan's heart sank as she realized they were at a crossroads. A choice lay before them, one that could determine their fate. Would they protect the girl or risk everything for the truth? As the cold uncertainty washed over them, a new fear took root. What if the little girl's knowledge hardened their enemies? What if the reveal only deepened their own entrapment? The suspense thickened as the gang leader stepped closer, dark intentions swirling in his eyes. And just when Megan thought no moment could worsen, the buzz of a phone broke the silence. A call she hadn't noticed slipped from the girl's pocket and into her hands. With a quick glance at the contact name displayed, Megan's chest tightened. The name shook her to the core.
Who is it?
She whispered, heart racing. The girl's lips parted in a silent scream, recognizing the number flashing on the screen. Answer it, the leader commanded softly, a grin spreading across his face.
Let us see what kind of game we're playing here. Megan's breath caught. What would happen next? Would this call be their salvation or the end? The girl's hands trembled, the phone vibrating against the concrete like a heartbeat.
Megan felt anger mingled with desperation boiling over. She couldn't let them have the upper hand.
Don't answer it. But her voice barely reached the girl, who was rooted to the spot, eyes wide. All eyes were on the phone, the buzzing cutting through the tension like a serrated blade.
Megan looked at Hunter, who exchanged a ghost of a worried look with her. They had to make a move, and soon. Please, the girl whispered, her voice cracking.
If I answer, they'll know where I am. The gang leader laughed cruelly, the sound echoing against the damp brick walls. Exactly.
But I'll make it easy for you. Answer it or I will take it from you myself. Slicking his finger along the edge of his knife, he stepped closer, but just as quickly, Hunter bounced forward, fists clenched, boldness pulsating through him.
Get back! He shouted.
Eyes darted back and forth between the leader and the trembling child, the energy thickening in the alley, stifling any hope or rational thought. Let me speak to them, the girl finally gasped, choking down her fear.
Megan's heart sank. It was as if she was handing herself over to the wolves. No!
Megan screamed, but the girl's decision was made. Swallowing her fear, she pressed the green button, slowly raising the phone to her ear.
Hello?
She stuttered, her small frame quaking as if she were withering beneath the spotlight. The silence stretched to infinity, hundreds of eyes, most of them dark and soulless, watched her with anticipation. A voice suddenly crackled through the line, smooth but dripping with an insidious sweetness.
Emily, darling. I missed you.
The girl's face blanched, panic washing over her like a tidal wave.
No. Don't.
Please, you can't. But before she could finish, the leader reached forward, snatching the phone from her hand, his grin a terrifying flash in the shadows.
What did you tell us?
I think you owe us a little more than that. Megan lunged, adrenaline surging, but Hunter caught her wrist.
Wait. He hissed. We can't make them angrier. Who the hell are you talking to? The gang leader growled into the phone, the tone of his voice shifting dangerously.
And like a deck of cards toppling in the night, everything unraveled.
Behind them, the scuffling of feet drew louder, shadows lengthening dangerously along the walls. More figures emerged from the darkness, faces hidden beneath hoods and masks, each movement calculated and predatory.
Megan's breath hitched.
"We're trapped," she whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. "Run!" Hunter yelled, making a split-second decision, eyes darting for an exit. "Now!" But just as they turned, the alley erupted into chaos. The gang leader raised his weapon, barking out orders. A swift action led to a gunshot, shattering the previously thick air and ricocheting off the walls, the sound deafening. "Get the girl!" he thundered, sending a rush of men charging towards them. Megan's instincts kicked in, and she grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her close. "Don't let go!" she cried, clenching her jaw as they bolted down the alley. Hunter close behind. The darkness swallowed them, the only light flickering like an exhausted flame as they sprinted. Behind them, the sound of angry shouts and footsteps grew louder. Megan could feel the floor beneath her feet shake with the weight of their pursuers, her pulse smashing against her eardrums. Each pulse urged her forward into an uncertain escape. Every street turned could be a trap, every shadow a menacing figure. Hunter was by her side, breathless but focused, understanding the stakes higher than ever. "Take a left here," Hunter shouted, pointing towards a narrow opening between two dilapidated buildings. Megan forced the girl ahead, pushing their bodies to dart through the narrow passage. But as they slipped into the depths, a cold hand clamped down on Megan's shoulder, yanking her back. "No!" she screamed as the world around her twisted into panic and darkness. What could she do now? Would they find safety, or was this just the beginning of something much more sinister? And the unanswered question loomed heavy: what did the voice on that phone want from Emily? As she grappled with the fierce grip of her captor, the fear of discovery choked her breath, leaving her in a battle against despair. Would they survive long enough to uncover the truth? Megan's heart raced as the grip tightened on her shoulder, the fingers like iron bands dragging her back into the chaos. Hunter's voice blurred into a chaotic rhythm, muffled by the pounding of her heart. All Meg could think was how easily this could end, not just for her, but for Emily too. "Let her go!" Hunter shouted, lunging towards her. The alley transformed into a dim labyrinth as a shadowy figure stood towering over Megan, a menacing smirk disfiguring his face. "Think you can escape us that easily?" he taunted, pulling her closer to him. Panic swelled in her throat as she wrestled to pull away. Emily was just feet away, frozen in fear. "Run, Emily!" Megan managed to scream, her voice raw and desperate. But as Emily's feet obeyed, the hesitant girl turned back, eyes wide with torn loyalty. "Megan!" she cried, as if trying to hold a bond stronger than the terror encircling them. The voice on the phone echoed in the back of Megan's mind. Who was this person? Why did they want Emily so desperately? It was a battle of instinct and awareness. She needed to protect the girl, to shield her from whatever dark fate the gang wanted to deliver. The thug laughed, his breath reeking of smoke and something far more sinister. "Sweet little Emily here doesn't seem to understand the stakes. But I can make her understand." The glint of his knife caught the weak light, a flash that sent shivers down Megan's spine. "Don't you dare," she shouted, the words bursting out fueled by an instinct deeper than fear. Hunter fought against the thug but was quickly pushed aside, leaving Megan exposed. Just then, the commotion roared back to life as more gang members swarmed into the alley. Their forms were ominous shadows, vying for power in the darkness. The world felt as if it was collapsing around Megan, each breath becoming a struggle. But amid the tension, a flicker of opportunity sparked. As the thug laughed and taunted Hunter, Megan instinctively adjusted her weight, dropping to the ground in an attempt to break his hold. She felt the cold concrete scrape against her skin, and with a forceful twist, pulled herself free. "Emily! This way!" she yelled, scrambling to her feet. The girl, now wide-eyed but resolute, darted after her, heart thumping with a fragile courage. They both dashed toward a storm drain that offered a brief glimpse of hope. "Get in!" Megan urged, pushing Emily forward before glancing back at Hunter, who was still grappling with multiple figures, fists flying and a glint of defiance in his eyes. "Now, Megan!" he yelled, utilizing a burst of strength to evade a swing meant to connect with his jaw. Just as Megan turned to follow Emily into safety, a hand shot out, grasping her ankle, yanking her down. "I told you, you're not leaving!" The gang leader howled, rage boiling beneath his cool demeanor. Panic surged.
Fear and determination fused in Megan's core as she jerked her leg, striking out with the other foot. The thug's fingers loosened enough for her to tumble forward. She hit the ground with a thud but scrambled onward. The once fleeting hope turned tangible when she spotted the shadow of an opening beyond the drain. She pressed forward, feeling every fiber of her being urging her on. Hunter fought bravely, but more voices echoed behind them, and every second felt like a ticking bomb ready to explode.
"Come on!" Megan shouted to Hunter, who was panting and bruised but still standing his ground.
Timed perfectly, he turned toward Megan, locking his eyes on the path ahead.
"We have to go. Now!"
With one final surge, they pulled Emily through the opening, as the alley erupted into a cacophony of chaos and fury. A heavy echo of footfalls chased them into the darkness. Breathless and on the brink of madness, Megan turned back one last time, heart racing with dread.
"What now?"
she gasped, clutching Emily's grimy hand. The night was sickly thick, and ahead lay answers or traps. But she could feel it bubbling just beneath the surface, something sinister waiting to unfold. Were they truly safe, or were they merely pawns in a game spiraling well beyond
their control? And as adrenaline pumped through her veins, one ominous thought lingered: what had Emily truly gotten into, and would they ever escape the clutches of the past that hunted her?
The darkness fell heavy around them as Megan, Hunter, and Emily scrambled through the narrow storm drain. Each heartbeat echoed through the cramped space, and the world outside faded, drowned by the rush of water trickling beneath them. The air was thick, soiled by memories of fear and desperation. Megan could feel Emily's small hand trembling against her own, and it fueled her urgency to find light, safety, freedom from this horrific entanglement of shadows.
"Keep moving,"
Megan urged, her voice a whisper, amplified by tightness in her throat as they inched forward. Each twist and turn felt like a maze, filled with uncertainty, yet she held onto the hope that lay just outside this abyss. Hunter was close, his steady presence a tether amid the chaos. Just when they reached a junction in the drain, a beam of light filtered in. Hope surged.
"This way." Hunter led them towards the glow, but as they drew closer, a low rumble echoed forebodingly in the distance.
The sound sent shockwaves of dread through Megan's chest. As the trio stumbled out into the open, the moon hung high, an indifferent observer to their plight. They emerged in a darkened alley, littered with debris and whispering secrets of those who tread there before them. Flashing sirens in the distance cut through the quiet, revealing their time was running short. Megan's heart raced as she began to assess their surroundings. She saw a small door marked "Employees Only" on the side of a nearby diner, its darkened windows revealing nothing.
"We need to get inside," she insisted.
But before she could take a step, she saw Hunter shake his head.
"No, we can't go in there. We don't know who's in there,"
he cautioned, scanning the alley for threats.
"It's better than standing here, Hunter. They'll be here any second."
She felt the adrenaline coursing through her, pushing her to act. And as fear mounted in the pit of her stomach, so did a fierce protective instinct for Emily. Suddenly, the echo of hurried footsteps grew louder.
"Look!"
Emily gasped, pointing down the end of the alley where ominous shadows loomed. Panic surged, and Megan tugged Emily closer to her, their bodies huddled tightly together.
"Come on!"
Hunter shouted, his urgency igniting the spark of action within Megan. The alleyway felt like a trap closing in on them, steeper and darker than before. They broke into a sprint, heading for the door, hearts pounding in sync. Megan slammed her palm against the door, causing it to swing open, the hinges creaking like a warning. They burst inside, and the scent of grease overwhelmed them, a shocking contrast against the fear that clung to them in layers.
"Where do we hide?" Emily whimpered, eyes darting in every direction. Megan's mind raced, surveying the dimly lit space.
Behind a counter, stacks of old boxes offered a potential shelter.
"There!
Quick!" she urged, and they ducked behind the boxes, cramming themselves into a tight space while Hunter peered out through the door to see if they had been followed. Silence hung in the air, stretching on tiptoes. The pounding of their hearts echoed like thunder beneath the dull hum of fluorescent lights. "They can't find us," Hunter whispered, "just stay quiet."
Minutes felt like centuries.
Megan felt Emily quaking next to her, her tiny body trembling against the cacophony of their racing hearts. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, half convinced herself.
"We're safe here."
Just then, the door swung open with a sudden crash.
The gang leader strode in, flanked by 2 of his men. "Search every inch," he ordered, his voice cold and commanding. Megan's heart plummeted. He wasn't too far from their hiding place if he found them.
Tension spiked as footsteps approached, echoes bouncing off the walls like a ticking clock. Megan squeezed her eyes tightly, praying they wouldn't be discovered. Suddenly, the leader's voice boomed, "She's just a little girl.
How hard can it be to find her?"
The words pierced through Megan's resolve, igniting a fire in her gut. "I will not let him take her." And in that moment, she bolstered herself with courage. She thought of her son, Jackson, and how fiercely she would protect him.
Megan could feel the heat of relentless spirit surging through her veins.
She wasn't going to be a pawn any longer, she was going to be a player in this game. As the gang members moved closer to their hiding spot, Megan locked eyes with Hunter, whose expression conveyed both fear and fierce determination.
"We need a distraction," she mouthed silently, formulating a plan that felt reckless yet necessary. "On 3, Hunter whispered, a spark igniting in his eyes.
The growing tension set the room vibrating with anticipation.
1, 2, 3.
Like a tightly coiled spring, they burst from behind the boxes, pushing past the gang in a mad dash for the back door visible against a distant wall. The leader spun around, caught off guard.
"After them!" he shouted. Megan's legs churned, adrenaline slamming against her chest.
The door flew open, leading them into another dimly lit alley, but they didn't stop running. They couldn't stop. They needed to put distance between them and the darkness that pursued.
"Where to now?" Emily gasped, breathless but unyielding.
"There." Megan pointed to a parking lot ahead, a scrappy little security hut with light spilling through its windows. It wasn't far enough, but it was a chance. They dashed forward, desperately weaving through scattered cars, hearing the holler of their pursuers growing distant but not far enough. A gust of frantic determination propelled them toward the hut, its haven glowing with the possibility of safety. With a final push, they reached the door and slammed it behind them. Inside, a surveillance guard looked up, confusion painting his expression, but as soon as he noticed their frantic state, his eyes widened.
"What happened? Please, we need help,"
Hunter shouted, and Megan felt the nerves of uncertainty slipping away for the first time that night. The guard blinked rapidly, taking in the sight of fear and innocence painted on Emily's face.
"I'll call 911. "No!" Emily cried, "They'll come for me."
"What?" The guard faltered, looking between the group.
"Just, please, let us hide." Megan's plea hung in the air, desperate yet forceful.
Before any more could be said, the door swung open, and a shadow crossed the threshold.
The gang leader had followed them, his men slinking through the darkness like wolves. "Let her go!" Megan shouted, stepping forward as instinct took over.
The guard's face paled as he backed up against a wall, realization dawning on him.
"You foolish little girl!"
The leader spat, darkness spreading behind him like a poisonous fog. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." But Megan stood firm, her heart pounding like a battle drum. "No, your mistake was underestimating us."
Hunter's hands clenched into fists, and the electric tension built to a breaking point. This was no longer just about survival, this was a showdown. Megan felt the presence of power surging through her.
It was a collective decision, born from desperation and courage, a will to protect, to defy the monsters that hunted them.
"Get ready!"
Hunter breathed, and Megan knew in that moment they were all in this together, no one would be taken anymore. As they prepared to confront the darkness, a single thought reverberated through Megan's mind: together, they would fight back, and they would emerge from this night, stronger than the shadows that sought to consume them. The time for fear had passed, now was the moment to reclaim their power, to shatter the chains of their perilous reality. And as the storm of violence approached, she knew for certain, they would not cower any longer in the night. They would rise from it. But first, they had to face what awaited them. You need to subscribe now to see what happens next in this gripping story. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us keep this community alive together.